So guys, I think we're live. This is the bit at the start. I just checked the audio's okay. Everything is okay there. So, very lucky today. I've got Peter. Peter, how do you pronounce your second name? Is it Hatzipetros? Is that correct?
Yeah, it's about as close as many people get it. It's Hatzipetros, yes.
Hatzipetros. Where's that from? Is that name from? Is that a...
That's Greek.
Greek? Oh, right, okay. I've never heard that name before. We talked for the first time, when was it, like a week or so ago? We kind of touched base just in a quick phone call.
We just touched up a little bit regarding some hot topics that were going around on Twitter.
Yeah, but that's like in today's video, we're going to be talking about cryptocurrency and the law. Can you tell people more about who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I'm an attorney that practices in state and federal court in great city of New York. Started off doing primarily contract law, transactions, negotiations, and then a partner of mine introduced me to cryptocurrency. And like everybody else, I found it to be beyond intriguing. Looked into it, and it was basically the wild, wild west, and it kind of still is.
Yeah. I think most people would agree with that.
Yeah, I don't think it's too foreign a concept for people to believe that there requires some type of, regulation and ramifications for some of the people out there that take advantage. So with a minimal legal footprint, I'd like to help craft that area of the law because it's definitely coming.
I think in many regards you're a pioneer because, I mean, most lawyers, I would say, probably don't even know what cryptocurrency is beyond, hearing about the word Bitcoin.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think everybody here is a pioneer. Unfortunately, the old saying that pioneers get arrows in the back and settlers get to, enjoy what came before them. But that's the entrepreneurial spirit, and blockchain, Bitcoin, crypto in general it's beyond revolutionary. So to be part of it, I'll take an arrow in the back or a few just to help pave the way for anybody that comes afterwards. Yeah.
Well, you're definitely one of the first, and you're probably carving out a niche that a lot of other people don't even realize as a niche right now as far as like law and cryptocurrency. Online, a lot of people know you with your association with Bitcoin Private. How did you get involved with that coin, with that team?
That initially started on Telegram, like most things do. That was right at the cusp of when, I guess, CNBC and everybody started covering Bitcoin altogether. I was already invested in other cryptocurrencies. But the project as a whole just sounded very intriguing, hearing everybody's ideas and theories and concepts. And a few of the project leaders thought that it would be somewhat beneficial to have a legal mind in there just to, answer some questions and things like that. And then once I saw the way that project was developing from early January to a fork in late February, it's really humbling and it's quite impressive.
They've got quite a large team actually, isn't it? Compared to a lot of other cryptocurrencies, the teams are smaller.
Most coins have a team or community. I mean, this is an entire nation of cryptocurrency people that are just dedicating their time and effort and passion into a purpose, and it's really impressive from top to bottom. Everybody's really contributing there, and it's just something special to be part of.
Well, I'm actually going to be speaking to one of your friends, Giuseppe, in a week or so, I believe, or maybe perhaps this week, about Bitcoin Private. But it's worth noting that Peter is obviously not representing Bitcoin Private in this video. He's just here himself. He just wanted to talk about cryptocurrency with all you guys. But I will be talking for anyone who's here, who's interested in Bitcoin private. Stay tuned. I'll be talking to Giuseppe about a lot of different things like wallets and exchanges in the future. But Bitcoin private is actually quite a lead on to one of my first questions, which would be about privacy. Because this is one of the biggest debates, I think, online, especially in mainstream media, where they talk about people being anonymous and then transparency. And well, I mean, you see it on mainstream media. They always talk, whenever they bring up secrecy or privacy cryptocurrencies, there's always accusations, people saying, oh, it's just for drugs to be moved around and all these kind of things. But there is a genuine need for privacy, of course.
I couldn't agree more. There's often an association of the need or want for privacy and anonymity with what are you hiding, or a guilty conscience needs no questioning. The fact is, at the end of the day, the way the cash system originated was that it was just exchanging dollars or coins for a transaction, and it was still essentially private. As technology evolves, you've got Big Brother in the sky, you've got centralization of banks that monitor everything. Yeah. Privacy, at least in particular in the United States, it's a constitutional right to privacy. So it's inalienable. And it's something that's not been taken away, but I think that it's being redefined on a case-by-case basis. So it's really a disservice to associate the need and want of people to transact privately and anonymously with really them trying to surreptitiously engage in nefarious activities like a Silk Road or anything like that.
Yeah.
If I want to go to the pharmacy and get a prescription for an allergic reaction, it shouldn't have to be public knowledge. If I want to send money to...
This is one of the main concerns, because all transactions are on the blockchain. And if a coin doesn't have, and obviously in Bitcoin private, zero knowledge, ZK snarks, if you don't have a Z address, if it's a transparent address, if they wanted to, someone can find out your address and see that you've bought, something, your allergies, as you say, medicine, perhaps something adult related, anything. But it's essentially showing someone your bank statement in many ways.
Yeah, once it's cryptographically, laid out, but at the end of the day, there's going to be a way around that as well. Yeah. Cryptography it blows my mind. I mean, a few years ago when I started getting into tech, I thought that I was a savant because I knew how to root my Android phone. But after learning about everything that's been going on, and the developers, at least with the Bitcoin private team and other ICO companies and projects that I've worked with, these men and women are absolutely genius. And if they can develop privacy protocols, I'm sure that there are other people that can decrypt those protocols. But look, that's at the end of the day. The main issue is privacy, and you can't cast aspersions on people for wanting to remain private, because what's illegal in one part of the world may be encouraged in another. So without a universal global law or code, it's always going to be this way. So where do you draw the line in the sand? And you just don't draw one at all. You just allow a free flow exchange of information and transactions.
I think the whole subject of privacy is just like the real fear, I think, from governments is the fact that they don't know how to handle it yet. We haven't worked out all the kind of bugs and how they're going to tackle that, as far as obviously this kind of leads on to crypto regulation and taxation and things like that as well. That's obviously a big concern for governments. But from a privacy point of view, it's one of those things, as you say, Big Brother, they do want to know what you're doing. They are scared of people making money in cryptocurrency and then filtering the money away. And then, from a taxation point of view, they could say, I only made $100,000 this year when they've actually made $2 million or something. But it's still, and obviously with exchanges as well, with people losing money and scams, this is where it's one of those things. I believe in privacy. I want privacy, but I'm a bit of a hypocrite in some situations because, for example, with a cryptocurrency exchange, I'm not a big fan of it being anonymous. I want to know exactly who's running it. I want to see it in corporate, like I want to be like a limited company. I want to know that it's legit and they're not going to run away with my money. But at the same time, I want privacy for myself. So I don't know.
I'm on the same page with you. I mean, if you look at what is it? Expo was a recent topic of conversation.
Yeah.
Look, there are myriad benefits to having a decentralized exchange, but there's also that comfort and safe net of security that that there are a group of developers and wallet maintenance and just faces and people that are behind these exchanges, whichever ones they are, whether they be domestic, foreign, where your money is. And if you don't want your money to be kept on an exchange, just throw it in, into storage. And then when you want to move it, you move it. But at the end of the day, to just be subject and victim to a potential scam like Expo, all of these companies and exchanges are being required to provide AML programs and KYC, where you have to know your customer.
AML is anti-money laundering. That's correct? Yeah.
Anti-money laundering, and then there's the CTF, which is the counter-terrorism financing. So everybody.
This is within US law. This is like something that all companies have to adhere to.
Yep, but it's also Australia. Early April, they are now implementing a series of principles that exchanges need to adhere to protect investors and traders from, money laundering and funding terrorism programs. And it's basic things that are understandable. Proof of identification.
Yeah.
The exchanges are required to keep certain records for X amount of time, reporting to Australian regulatory agencies of any suspicion activity. Look, these are all things that just because a governmental body is requiring it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not in the best interests of the space as a whole.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anybody wants to either directly or indirectly fund the laundering of money or funding of terrorism.
Yeah, terrorist groups. Yeah.
Yeah, nobody wants that. So.
Like I know myself, though, just from hanging out in Discord groups, and you hang out in Discord groups and see when someone talks about a new exchange, someone will always ask, do you need KYC? Do you need to add know your customer? And basically what they're asking is, do I need to upload my real name and a passport or something like that?
Right.
There's a lot of people who don't want to give that information away. That's the thing. I think most exchanges I've used, they don't ask for that information unless you want to trade above a certain level. And it's different for each one.
Or more, yeah.
Yeah. But again, this is this kind of fight between, there's legitimate reasons to track people and know who people are, and there's legitimate reasons that people don't want others to know who they are and keep themselves anonymous.
Yeah, look, I mean that's an important thing, but it's also a double-edged sword, right? So the not the demand, because it shouldn't be demanded, it should just be a right to privacy and anonymity. The benefits are tremendous, but there's also a lot of detriments as well, because if you want to remain anonymous and engage in privacy, and you are off the grid and you don't want people to know what your transactions like, where do you go and who do you turn to when something goes awry?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to take.
You can't have it always. Yeah, you can't have it always, in that regard.
Exactly. So I just think that the people, mostly I guess Main Street investors, so people off of Wall Street that are investing like myself in the beginning, I'm sure yourself, who weren't Wall Street savants, they do require protection. They do need to be safeguarded from being scammed and defrauded. Um, but you can't just turn around and point the fingers at the exchanges all the time.
Yeah.
Because at what point in time does KYC shift over to the actual investor? Like, the onus cannot just be, you can't just be free of blame. You have to do your own research. If something doesn't look right, dig a little bit deeper. Just because a coin that is not on any other exchange is going to be listed on this one, look into that exchange, wait a little bit. And
Yeah.
I know that the urge to jump right in is appealing because you want to be able to benefit, whether it's via arbitrage or just to trade it. But unfortunately, when you have a situation like Expo, when, what is it, I believe Safecoin or just
Yeah.
other coins that are
Yeah, they added quite a lot of
just like
coins.
great
Yeah.
projects. Yeah, and
Yeah.
people go there because it's listed, but there are nefarious, clever people out there that understand that demand, and they will take a coin that has a good hype with a great telegram and it's got a good community, and they'll say, hey, you know what? We listed, we can trade it here. They know automatically that everybody's going to rush there,
Yeah.
dump everything in, and now, for all we know, this guy is on the beach drinking margaritas, doesn't even give a shit about doing wallet
Well,
maintenance.
that's exactly what happened essentially with Expo. As far as he turned up in Bitcoin Talk, said, "Hey, we've listed you." No one asked for it, but he must have saw the. I'm sure it wasn't just Safecoin. He did it with a lot of coins, and it seems like that was his strategy. We could touch upon that more. I'd like to touch upon that more in, a little bit later. But just kind of go back to what we were saying about privacy. You touched upon Australia and USA with the exchanges with like know your customer, but by and large, regulation and basically just the understanding of cryptocurrency, but regulation as a whole in cryptocurrency is, well, it's not really there yet, is it? It's not. We're taking baby steps really with all of this.
Right. So, in at least, and when I speak, I'm just going to reference laws as they exist in the United States because, for obvious reasons. But you have particular areas of law. You've got criminal law, contracts, real estate, trademark, patents. These are all fundamental, foundational areas of practice in the law. So what's going to be needed is a hybrid or an amalgamation of all these different areas, and they're going to have to create some type of a universal legal platform for digital assets. Until they do that, and I don't see that in the real near future, everybody's just going to cherry pick from every area of law and apply it. For example, I believe it was Amazon that just had a patent granted for tracing or tracking, Bitcoin transactions through its e-commerce platform. I could be wrong with that, but that's one area. But you also have to look at how different agencies define cryptocurrency. The U.S. alone is torn in 3 different directions. You have the Internal Revenue Service that treats cryptocurrency not as a currency at all, but rather as actual property. The CFTC, which is the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, says that Bitcoin is a commodity like gold and silver. And then there's the ever powerful Securities and Exchange Commission, which says that it's a security, which is basically an investment contract. So when you have 3 different agencies applying 3 different areas of law to define a new asset class, it can be chaos, and it can cause casualties. There are going to be a lot of ICOs that maybe didn't take the proper steps. They're going to be made examples of. But I do really think that there is a need for regulation. I'm not saying that I'm one of those corporate suits that needs to come down hard on people that want to invest in it.
Yeah.
But you can't have, like I said earlier, the wild, wild west. There has to be a uniform code, whether it be buying amongst the cryptocurrency participants themselves or some type of agency that just makes sure that everything is being done properly.
I think, I mean, it's not just the USA, obviously, but within the EU, I mean, taxation and law is certainly not something I'm that knowledgeable on, if I'm honest. But I know within the UK, cryptocurrency, I believe, is being taxed with capital gains tax, so you just pay any profits. But then I believe there's some countries that aren't taxing cryptocurrency at all. So, like within the EU, you've got, how many countries, 20, 30, 40 countries, whatever, trying to work this out. And no one agrees on how it should be taxed. And then you've got the USA taxing it some way. And then, not even that, I mean, what if... I mean, you could also have someone who's based elsewhere for 6 months of the year and all this as well. So you've got taxation... It could be tax-free in one country, then you go back to the USA and you're taxed in a different way.
Yeah.
As the thing is, like as someone who's involved in cryptocurrency and is investing in mining hardware and things like that, and is buying coins, when the lawyers and the accountants and all the agencies can't agree on it, like we're just like, what do we do? It's
Yeah, see, that's the thing. It's the landscape is so vast right now, and it's I mean, I don't know of any industry that has come to fruition and then scaled and then has been continuously evolving and expanding at a rate like this. I mean, we've seen the birth of new asset classes. We've seen it with the railroad, we've seen it with the automobile, and then the internet. And that all took time. Laws were built around it. This is over decades, centuries. This is at an accelerated rate that is causing everybody to scramble. But sometimes you have to just put things in place to keep people in line. For example, the amendment to the IRS Section 1031, which is one of the biggest discussions earlier this year for tax purposes, where basically it's familiar with, it's called like-kind exchanges. So in the Internal Revenue Service, that you can defer reporting income gained if you go out and you purchase a like-kind property. So if I sell a home and I buy another home, that constitutes like-kind exchange. So the same was being applied for, I guess mostly last year with cryptocurrencies. If you convert from from BTC to LTC and vice versa, those were like-kind exchanges. But now, with two little words changed in Section 1031, it now limits that only to real property, which is buildings and things like that. Yeah. So that's just one little hint and sign of how changes are coming to slowly start crafting some type of legislation that'll come down the pipelines. But until the G20 summit, I think it was on June 1st, they said they were going to have a proposal for some type of regulations. Right now, it's pretty much take all your money and hide it in your wall, so to speak, because who knows what's going to happen to everything. But blockchain isn't going anywhere. It's getting widely adopted. Its use case is beyond impressive and beneficial. And I think the most important thing that people need to do, I don't care who you are, I don't care if you're a musician and a lawyer in finance, it's just educating the space. It's contributing to the purpose to be served here, because this is really, it's revolutionary. And until there are legal, laws put into place, people just need to be careful, and they need to take the bad with all of the good.
Well, I mean, all of that, it kind of relates to cryptocurrency investors and perhaps miners. But where do you think the law stands on developers? Because obviously you've got people developing new coins. If you go to Bitcoin Talk, there's new coins being listed there every single day of the week. A lot of those will be scams, no doubt. That's where a lot of scams do get listed, same as legitimate projects. But for developers or just communities that are starting out, what do they have to look out for, you know, as far as the law goes, with regards to, say, pre-mines or ICOs or funding? This is where a lot of the grey area comes in, because this is where a lot of the scams are coming from as well, where people are developing coins, you know, they're getting money, and especially with ICOs, you can get millions of dollars up front before you've even developed a wallet. It's insane, like how well these things make money. And yet there doesn't seem to be any laws to stop these people doing it over and over and over again.
Right. Well, see, the alarming number of amount of money that was raised last year via ICOs is what has caused all of the scrutiny in the United States in particular, especially the Securities and Exchange Commission. They are the governing body that is really just looking into all of these ICOs. And personally, I think it's from a legitimate standpoint, because it is, like I said, it's a new asset class. You have people that understand it. The millennials are just technicians and people in fintech, but you also have your traditional, more senior investors that want to get involved in it. Yeah. And they're just throwing money at projects that, you know, seem like they're great ideas. They don't do their due diligence, you know, and it is the responsibility of people that are investing to look into projects, see what they're all about, find out who the developers are, the team members, the project, the use case, everything. If you were to do a survey of how many people scroll all the way to the bottom of a page of an ICO homepage and click on the little hyperlinks that are hidden, privacy, user agreements, disclaimers, I would say maybe 10% of people do that. You know, and who the hell wants?
I would say that's being generous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say about 2% or something.
You know, mobile wireless agreement contracts without reading them.
Yeah.
It's awful. It's just awful to read it. But if you're investing money, and if you're hoping to get in at the ground floor of something big, you have to do your research. You have to look into it. See where they're located. See if they are registered as being a security. See what their plan of attack is, if they even have a roadmap, for example.
Yeah.
So if you don't do your due diligence, then at the end of the day, yeah, nobody deserves to be scammed in a coin, but shame, you know, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, you know, shame on me type of thing. So, as far as pre-mine goes, I don't really want to touch on it too much, but it's, I mean, if you just look at the class action that was filed in California federal courts, I think it was May 3rd, it's another class action against, you know, Ripple Labs, giving it the name of being a never-ending ICO, saying that I think the allegations were stating that there was like just 100 billion tokens created out of thin air, 20% of which went to its founders.
Yeah.
I mean, who, whether or not it's true, who wants to be part of something like that, whether it's from the inside or the outside? You know, you just have to, you know, believe in what you're investing. Only invest in what you know, bottom line.
Yeah. I think it is difficult, though. This is the thing. Even doing your research as an investor or someone looking to mine a coin, it's still very, very difficult because, well, there's legitimate coins that don't look as good as, you know, the scam coins that have got white papers and roadmaps, and there's legitimate coins that don't. Someone actually messaged me today and was asking about, like, check out this coin. I'm like, you don't even have a white paper. You don't have anything. Like, what do you want me to talk about? Like, what do you want me to look into?
To be fair, Charlie Lee never wrote a white paper for Litecoin, and
yeah, Well, this is the thing. Like on my channel, I did a video and I basically said, listen, I don't want to do any videos about any coins with ICOs now, because like I know Ethereum was founded via an ICO, but then the sheer number of scams that are that are funded using an ICO, it's alarming. And as an investor, from my position as a YouTuber, it's near impossible for me to see which one is legit and which one isn't, because
Yeah, it's very difficult.
I mean, I know nothing about, I did a little bit of development at university. I did software development, but I'm not a coder. But I could very easily just copy 10 white papers, copy and paste, change a few things around, and then I've got, my own coin, and then I could fool some people. And it's not that hard to do it,
No,
so
it's not difficult at all. I mean, it's developing at a very alarming rate. Like you were saying, there's Ethereum, and a lot of ICOs are built off of the Ethereum blockchain with your ERC20 tokens. So
yeah,
I don't want to say it's not difficult to do, because like you, I don't code. I think my coding expertise is limited to when I was customizing my MySpace page back in 10 years ago. Okay, so yeah. I don't want to pretend that I'm a savant with that. However, there is a lot of vulnerability. People do make a concerted effort to have the appearance of being a legitimate operation, and as soon as they hit their soft cap, they're off and gone. It's happened too many times, and that's why regulation, I think, is not only imminent, but you have to admit that it is necessary to some extent. But there is fear of what happens after that. Is it a snowball? Where does it end? If we don't resist regulation from government authorities on this, are we just letting them in the door for them to do what they please? So it's a real catch-22. And unless there's definity with what's going to be done as far as laws and implementing those laws go, it's going to be on a country-by-country basis. And in the United States, as we're seeing, it's on a state-by-state basis, which is actually pretty incredible.
I think you're right what you're saying with the catch-22, because obviously you need money to develop a coin. You need money to get things off the ground. And I think it'd be unfair to say that all pre-mines or all ICOs are scams, because they're not. There's lots of legitimate coins out there that have been funded that way. I covered an ERC20 token recently, which was the first mineable ERC20 token. So there was no funds. There was no one with that had mined 1 million coins beforehand, or mined for a few weeks before everyone else could. That was from the scratch. Everyone, it's a community effort. But I saw the downsides to that as well. Well, I think it's a downside in some regards. What they had to do, because it got to like a few weeks in, and there's no money. There's no money to get on any exchange. There's no money to to get anything going as far as marketing goes. So what they had to all do is kind of chip in together to get a listing. But with that kind of setup, a coin's going to take a year to get to where another coin could get to in a couple of weeks, because they've got investment. So it's very difficult. It's very difficult. I don't know from a developer's point of view legally what route they should go down from a funding aspect. Should they do an ICO? Should they do a pre-mine? Should they do something else?
I mean, if you apply traditional, entrepreneurial ventures to this space, I mean, that's why people really have embraced it. That it's crowdfunding, it's GoFundMe for this industry, and it's really great. But you're faced with only limited options. Do an ICO raise, but now you're subject to SEC scrutiny. Okay, you can't do it within an arm's reach of the United States without first registering with the Securities and Exchange Commission. You could do it overseas, what have you. Or you could just go the private investor route, have people invest in you and your project. Yeah, as the entrepreneur and as the builder and architect of the actual token and blockchain, of course, you're going to be forfeiting a lot of equity or a lot of money out of pocket. Where does it come from? These are all issues that every single small business that has become a big business has faced.
Yeah.
This is the moment people start realizing that this is not a get-rich-quick scheme anymore, that the window for quick, fast gains is closing by the day. It's not like it was last year. I think now it's becoming more mainstream and more legitimate, and it's basically work. You have to be smart with it. You have to realize and accept that it's going to take work and effort. And if you got to go out and you have to raise money, then go and raise money. And you're not going to get private investors investing in some type of a scam, because they're going to do their due diligence. They're going to know who you are. They're going to want to know where you're going with this.
Yeah.
And they know, these scammers, that they can't go that route.
I think that's a very good point. I think that's a very good point, because, like, as you say, you know, you can do an ICO with just a roadmap. You couldn't go to a business and say, give me $500,000 with no white paper, no roadmap, no documentation as to what you're going to do over the next few years. And yet you can throw up a website and you can do that and you can get the money. But it's a very good point.
It's scary, to be honest with you. It really is. And even if it was just one Ethereum coin that you've lost in a scam, if you get enough of them, it's a big take.
Yeah.
Big take. And the issue is, what is the remedial recourse available to people that are the victims or the subject of these ICO scams, right? Where's the custody of the coins? How do you apprehend the person that orchestrated it? That's my answer, you know?
Yeah, no, I know. Well, this kind of ties us back into what you brought up earlier about Exfo. And for the benefit of others, Exfo exvo.io. It's a new cryptocurrency exchange, and over the last few days, it's become apparent that the founder has basically ran off with everyone's money. And unfortunately, we can't, like, people are trying to get the website shut down just now, so no one else deposits. I said to Peter beforehand to get a kind of general understanding of it. I think you looked at my video from earlier as well. From a legal point of view, like, what do people that have lost money, like, what can they do? Anything? Is there any? Because obviously this isn't the first cryptocurrency scam, unfortunately. Right. I mean, I hate reading about these things. Firstly, because people are losing money, but secondly, because it hurts cryptocurrency as a whole when these things happen. I think it puts us back a few steps rather than, more than anything else. But legally, it's still perhaps because of the fact you can be anonymous. I don't know, but it's still very difficult to catch the people that do these things.
It is very difficult, and the moment that they are caught or apprehended, or they can be held accountable, then yeah, you'll have a huge press coverage. You'll have federal charges filed against them, civil forfeitures of money, the return of investment back to people that are victims. But none of that can happen unless you can identify, locate, and apprehend the person or persons that are responsible. And that's one of the downfalls of maintaining anonymity, through fintech. It's got so many good use cases that can help and benefit and make the world a better place. But at the same time, you have a few bad apples that will exploit it, and nobody will ever know which side of the line and which part of the fence to stand on, if it's good or bad, because all it takes is one ICO scam to set back the progress that can be made with all the benefits and all of the perks of having a fully anonymous blockchain, like Bitcoin Private does.
Yeah. Well, like, you were kind of saying, I think when you saw the Exfo website, you looked at it and right away you had reservations.
Oh yeah.
Lots of, because like I noticed that in the about page where it said staff, it just says to be updated. You know, things like that, or the fact they said it's 100% anonymous. And as I said, that never fills me with confidence. I want to know who these people are.
Yeah, as you should, because and it's funny because I had a screenshot the actual terms of the page, the about page, things like that, because for all you know, after your podcast had gone live, they may turn around, they may take down the site, you know. So if you, I think I would try to go on the Who Is registry to see where it was located, and I couldn't find it. So sometimes it goes down, it goes up. But if you're doing your due diligence and you come across a page that doesn't have any identifiable members to its team, or they're just avatars, or like I told you, there was that one ICO that had a photo of Ryan Gosling as one of its
I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah, it's shocking and funny, but at the same time, you know, at what point do you stop holding accountable the scammers and start maybe looking inward and saying, you know what, this doesn't add up. I'm just going to throw my money at it and hope for the best. No, you know, I think the industry as a whole will improve and become more legitimate, gain more adoption, and it won't be viewed in such a negative light if people just stop victimizing themselves, so to speak. Look, you can't help it if you're defrauded.
Yeah.
You know, you really can't. But if things don't look right, chances are in this space, you know, you should hold back a second, do your due diligence, read user agreements, look for any red flags. If all of the people live in one country, but the corporation is set up all the way on the other side of the world, doesn't mean it's illegal, but it's still something to look into.
Yeah.
You know, for whatever reason it may be. So my advice to anybody out there, until there is a legitimate legal landscape of, and they start teaching in law schools, cryptocurrency law and things like that, you have to look out for yourself, consult with tax attorneys regarding any ramifications of reporting for your crypto gains, financial advisors that can maybe help as to what to look for, what to stray away from, contract attorneys for sure, because they know what to look for. I work with a gentleman named Tyler Sanford out in Arizona, and he works with ICOs and helps them start up and do their business infrastructures, things like that. And we've been working together, and just to be able to be part of helping these ICOs not fall into these traps and become vulnerable to legal exploitation it's important, and it's humbling to be part of. It's great to contribute and help these different companies and platforms get off of the ground. But, you know, with this wave of change is going to come regulation, but trust me, Kevin, they're not all bad.
Yeah.
In particular, for me, my favorite one thus far this year has been in the state of Arizona, where the Senate passed House Bill 1091, which is going to allow its state citizens to pay their state income tax in cryptocurrency.
Yeah, that sounds like a game changer. That sounds like very significant.
That is huge sign of progress, but it also alleviates that confusion and that overwhelming fear of maybe not reporting your taxes properly, because the onus is on the trader now to have a physical. It's funny that it's a digital ledger that we're working with, but we now have to keep an actual written ledger of what the fiat value was before we swapped it for another cryptocurrency. I mean, who kept all of this stuff?
Yeah. I wasn't looking forward to do that.
Are you kidding?
I mean, especially, I mean, I've traded a few coins, obviously, but there's people that trade every single day, like, and they trade within like 10 different exchanges. So how they couldn't even show you that, even if they spend weeks, they still couldn't even show you, what they bought in it, what they sold at, and all that. The functionality for that kind of thing just isn't there yet.
Yeah, and you know what? And you can understand why people would want to remain anonymous.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with intentions of selling drugs or trafficking or this, that, and the other. People just don't want others to have a look at what they do.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, the cryptocurrency technology, the internet, it's completely ripped down the borders that divide us. Okay? Right now, we're talking via Skype.
Yeah.
I'm a citizen of Scotland, I'm a citizen of the United States, but at the end of the day, we're all citizens of the world. And what may be legal here is illegal there.
Yeah.
What is taboo here is promoted there. You can't associate people's inherent inalienable right to remain private from the eyes of others and just immediately associate that with a guilty conscience. It's not how it used to be, and I'm telling you right now, if it's not how it's going to be.
Yeah, I hope you're right. I hope you're right in that regard. Privacy is something that's it's become a bigger issue over the last. Well, I mean, obviously the big one this year wasn't cryptocurrency; it was Facebook. With the big privacy issue there. But I mean that it just kind of shows you how far behind the government is. If you look, I don't know if you looked at the interview, with the Facebook founder, and they were asking them questions, and I honestly don't think any of them even had a laptop the way they were talking, and a lot of these people are making important decisions and they still don't have a grasp of technology because they're, a little bit behind. But we will get there, I think. At this point, I think it'd be good if we could maybe open it up to people watching, ask you some questions. I've seen that, I've been watching, there's been comments scrolling through here. I've not actually seen them yet. Now a lot of these aren't relevant. I'm trying to get the first relevant one. So Alex, who was in the video today, he was saying he's looking forward to regulation. Projects like Exo can't be allowed to just pick up and walk off. If anyone has a question directly for Peter, please do post it just now and I'll ask him. Obviously, bear in mind, there's certain things they can't talk about as well from a legal perspective. I kind of touched upon very, very briefly, just before when we were setting up the test call there, very, very briefly. But I kind of mentioned what had happened in the past with Safecoin and Komodo. I think that's something we should maybe touch upon in a future video when you can. I kind of sprung it upon you at the very last minute and you don't really know much about it.
Yeah, no worries, of course.
But I mean, that's more related to attacks and where people, where teams and cryptocurrencies stand on that. But I think it'd be better to maybe send you some videos or maybe send you some articles and you can read more about it.
Yeah, send me some literature and I'll look into it, and then we can reconvene later in the week, and hopefully we'll chalk up the lack of comments to it being Mother's Day and not the fact that people still don't care about lawyers and cryptocurrency.
No, there's actually a lot of questions, but I think because we were talking, we weren't responding to the questions. There weren't many. There's one from Alex, Alex Chens, who was on the video today. Alex spoke to me today. He asked, how would the USA enforce laws overseas? So how would they enforce USA laws overseas? I understand the regulations are very different to where he is in Australia. Example, regarding trades or regarding, well, for example, the Expo situation. Like, for example, if the Expo founder was found out and everyone found out his identity, what happens if he's not based in the USA or if he's not based in, the UK or something?
Well, we're all familiar with extradition, right? So there are countries that will extradite people or send people back to not from whence they came, but to a jurisdiction that can actually either prosecute them or will hold them responsible for their actions.
Yeah.
Now, I think the founder of Expo, he's Australian, or his identity is
No,
unknown.
no, sorry. The person I was talking to today is Alex. I think Alex was like a support member for the team in Discord. They don't actually know too much about him, but someone was asking today, and they believe he's a native English speaker because he was quite articulate. But we don't know. Someone else was saying he could be Chinese or it could be something else. We don't know.
But you see the problem there, Kevin?
Yeah, I do.
You know what I'm saying? The problem is
Yeah.
that people are putting their trust in what is supposed to be a trustless system.
Yeah.
But just because you're involved in an industry with an asset class that hinges and promotes privacy and trustless autonomy and decentralization, it doesn't, rid you of the responsibility of looking into this.
Yeah.
The mere fact that Expo's founder, creator, CEO doesn't exist on paper as far as anybody else knows, it's, what can you do? It's terrible. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But just like every other new asset class and pioneers, people are going to get arrows in their back, and it's unfortunate. And I'm hoping that there'll be some type of remedial salvation for these people, where they can either get their coins back, or maybe this guy actually just went underground for a little bit and will resurface.
Yeah.
But I mean, honest advice is, if in your gut it doesn't smell right, just don't fucking do it. Excuse my language.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
No, I agree with that. Yeah.
it's, at the end of the day, forget that it's crypto, forget that it's blockchain. If it was just regular business transaction in the courtroom, on Wall Street, in the street, at very least you should know the person with whom you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't think we shouldn't be abandoning our fundamental instincts just because it's crypto.
This is one of the things that I think, questions like this will arise with decentralization as well, because I'm all for decentralized exchanges. I think if you look at the thinking behind decentralized exchanges, as in everything's on the blockchain and all that. But I used my first decentralized exchange last week, and I sold some coins. And when I actually listed one of the coins for sale, it didn't really list properly. And I started thinking, well, if this doesn't go through, what happens? Who helps me? What happens? Do I just lose the coins? And it wasn't for a lot of money. It was only like $100 or so. But, you imagine it'd be quite nerve-wracking putting $100,000 on there, or a significant amount of money, and then there's no one to pick up the phone and say, hey, this didn't go through. And it's all good at being on the blockchain, but what can you do if something, this is obviously worst case scenario in this kind of scenario. I'm not suggesting this is going to happen all the time. I do believe I can see the attraction of decentralized exchanges, and I will use them. But there are, whether you like to, even, whether you want a decentralized exchange or not, there are benefits to having a big company that has know your customer, that has your details, so that if anything goes wrong, you can pick up the phone, and then whether it's legally or whether it's just customer support, you can get your money back.
Absolutely. And, I'm not going to advocate for a DEX over a regular traditional exchange, so to speak, but there is a sense of comfort knowing that there's millions of users trading volume on exchanges like Binance, Bittrex, HitBTC,
Yeah.
and they're operations that are operational. They have user interfaces. Personally, the customer support, I think, is something that is overwhelmingly abysmal, to say it simply. I remember having to call GDAX last year, when crypto wasn't even on the main radar. I think I was on hold for about 2.5 hours, and I stayed on hold for 2.5 hours till I got someone, and they didn't even know really how to help me unless I was defrauded. So I think that the need for great customer support is definitely very important. Um, but as far as coins getting listed on exchanges too, it's 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 an enigma for the most part. A lot of people, they don't understand what goes into it, what's behind it. Um, Bittrex had released a very informative outline of what it is that they look for in getting a coin listed on their exchange. That sheds some light to enable people to know that they are doing their KYC, that they are looking into these teams, these projects, their use case. Um, and then they also have the delisting process. Shows that
Yeah.
they're actively removing coins because they may not conform with certain laws or implications, or it's just a bad development team. It's
We
that's
we definitely.
that's that's the right, avenue that they need to start gravitating towards.
I definitely like to see that more as well, because I think whether this goes on or whether it doesn't go on, I think a lot of people believe that there's a lot of backhanders going on in the boardroom. A lot of shaking hands going on in the background as to whether certain coins get listed over the others. What I know is that I followed a few exchanges and I hit the little bell icon on Twitter so that you get a message whenever they tweet, because I was trying to pay attention to some coins such as Bitcoin Private and a few others. And I did notice that people kept asking about certain coins. When are you going to list this one? When are you going to list this one? And they didn't. But in the meantime, they listed, in my opinion, terrible coins. Just, what people would call shit coins. They were worth less than a cent, like a cent or like 2 cents or whatever it was. And there didn't seem to be a consistency as to, certain ones being rejected and other ones being accepted.
It doesn't make sense a lot of the time. It really doesn't.
Yeah. So I mean, I would definitely welcome that, even if that was just made standard, that there was a set of rules. There's no personal, there was nothing going on in the background. It's just, do you have A, B, C, and D?
That's the problem, is that it's you want to, and that's why people go through decentralized exchanges, is because you want to believe that these crypto exchanges are doing right by the community as a whole. And one of the factors that Bittrex lists is basically the demand for the coin. How many people will support it? So if you have thousands of people that are picketing outside of the Bittrex corporate office saying, list this coin, they don't, and then all of a sudden they'll list a shit coin, or they'll list another coin that nobody's ever heard of. It makes you wonder, is there somebody pulling a string? Are there political or monetary incentives, or of that nature? So that's where transparency comes in, and I think that everything is coming. Look, the white paper for Bitcoin was written a little while ago, right?
But 9 years ago or something now, I think.
Cryptocurrency in general as a whole, I would say its real birth was maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
As far as people understanding it, knowing it, trading it. So we have plenty of time. It's not going anywhere,
I think it's right what you're saying, though. Like, as far as transparency, you kind of touched upon this issue a little bit ago. But I remember McAfee a few months ago, John McAfee, he started publicly saying, "Listen, I charged like, what was it, like $800,000? What was it? It was $100,000, $104,000 or something per tweet." And then he just openly said, "Listen, I'm doing this because the securities commissions and all these other organizations are going to start coming down heavy on social media influencers and things like that." But it does make you think there's a lot of social media guys, doing this kind of thing in the background, and it probably does happen with exchanges as well. But as you said, over time, these are little things that we need to iron out and we need to standardize.
Yeah, I mean, the mere fact that there are people that are called, Twitter influencers, to me, it's crazy. I'll be honest. Before January, I never had a Twitter. Found no use for it personally in my life.
Yeah.
I realized that it's that and Telegram are the lifeblood of a lot of these coins and these projects, as well as Discord. But the mere fact that there are people who will pump a coin or who will promote or advocate for a coin in exchange for money or value of any kind, credit where credit's due. You're using your user base and you know, to profit. But be open about it, be transparent about it, and don't manipulate the market with it. But that's it, really. I mean, listen,
as you
there's
say,
a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline, legally, legislatively, and it's not going to be board up the windows. It's going to be a fucking hurricane type of thing. But it's, you know, it's not going to be as easy and fluid and get rich quick as it is. It's being adopted. People were initially taking the position that Bitcoin and Litecoin, Ethereum, whatever it is, will never really gain traction, will never be big until it's adopted. Now it's becoming adopted and it's becoming real, and everybody is now saying, shit, now they're going to regulate it, now they're going to be taxed on it. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
You know? So people need to really see the best use case of this industry, and they need to understand the great things that it can do. It could help a person whose home is in foreclosure establish chain of title because it's on the blockchain.
Yeah.
It can send money to impoverished nations that they don't have the means to open up a bank account. There's so much more good that can come of
yeah, and they don't get charged 20% by Western Union or somewhere else, you know, like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
and it's funny because it's, you know, the banking systems were the first ones to really engage in digital currency transactions. Because giving out a loan to somebody without giving them cash, I mean, what the hell does everybody think that really is? You know?
Yeah.
But you know, at the end of the day, it's going to be a very busy year, but my advice is anybody that dons themselves as being the Bitcoin lawyer or a cryptocurrency professional lawyer, I mean, the industry's been around maybe 2 years. You know, I wouldn't even brand myself as being a cryptocurrency lawyer in particular, because there is no cryptocurrency law. But you advise, you help, you contribute, because at the end of the day, this whole thing is a community project, whether it's one coin or the entire industry. So that's the way it has to go.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tie up soon. I know I don't want to keep you too long. We've been on here for about an hour now. Could you believe?
I gotta start charging you my hourly rates.
I don't even know how much those are yet. There's a question here from Asheron. I'm not sure if you want to answer this or can leave this for Giuseppe when I speak to him. Asheron was asking, I've got one question for Peter. What can the Bitcoin private do on the legal side regarding the Bitcoin private website, or has it been handed to the development team? I think that issue's been resolved, hasn't it?
Is that regarding the domain?
Yeah, is that issue been resolved? Is that...
Well, like you said earlier, I'll leave everything and I'll defer any and all questions regarding administrative issues to Bitcoin Private, to Giuseppe Studio. You know, so we'll just handle it that way.
Yep, no problem with that. I'll be arranging a call with Giuseppe probably this week. So many thanks, Peter. I really do appreciate it, you coming on board. I'm sure a lot of people learned a lot. I know I did. You know, my knowledge of law and cryptocurrency law, and you know how all the regulations or lack of you know, this is something I'm still learning about, so I really do appreciate you coming on.
No, thank you for having me on, and to you and obviously your viewers, I don't know if you've provided them with my contact info.
No,
I'm not a Roger Ver. I'm not going to charge you money per email contact. So
what's the best
concerns?
What's the best way for people to get a hold of you? Is it Twitter or is it your LinkedIn page?
But I'll give you my email address. People could just shoot me a direct email if they'd like. Okay.
Well, I've got your LinkedIn page there. For some reason, I was going to show you your Twitter page there, but for some reason, I think it's my antivirus or something. Twitter isn't loading up. I don't know why. But Peter's there's your Twitter account there.
That handsome guy.
Yeah. It's at Petros_ESQ for Esquire. But I'll put a link to that in the video once it's published. I'll put a link to Peter's email address as well, and you can speak to him if you want to get in touch with him. So, many thanks, Peter. You know, I'd love to get you on again. We can talk about some more things if anything else comes on.
Absolutely.
Sounds great. Well, many thanks, Peter. It's been a blast. I'm going to stop the stream now. Thanks to everyone who's been watching. The video will be online. You can rewind this if you want to watch it, but it will be online in full soon. And stay tuned, as I said, I will do a video with Giuseppe very soon. Thanks to everyone for watching. I'm going to end the stream now. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Take care.